Hello, I am uh, making so I mean this video is really difficult for me to even approach because a lot of factors go into it. It's really complicated, but basically I just want to address the problems that come with uh, detransitioning in and around the community, mostly just you know the trans community. So before I jump into it, I want to first say, for those of you who are new, um, that when I was 16 in high school, I thought that I might be a trans man. Uh, so I socially transitioned for about a year, and then when I was 17, I went on to hormone replacement therapy, and I was on that for until I was 19, and then I got off of it, and then I detransitioned fully. So that was, well, I'm 25 now, so that was, I mean, my math says it's 6 years, but maybe your math says 5. I don't know. Can't, I'm bad with math. But anyway, so with that out of the way, I want to first address what inspired me to make this video, and that is I've seen Uh, not like one specific video or anything or one specific person, but I've seen like a handful of videos of trans people talking about detransitioning, and every time it's brought up, whether or not it's like joking or they're being very serious about it, there's always this air of like like detransitioning is very threatening to them in a way, even no matter how they're approaching it. There's always this air of, ooh, this is kind of like, this might be risky to talk about. And at least that's what I notice. That's kind of what I get out of it. And and then when they talk about it, there's like this sense of kind of defiance. When they talk about themselves, of course they're gonna be like, uh, no, I'm not detransitioning. I'm never going to. I'm trans. I'm proud to be this, yada yada. And I can understand where they're coming from with the regards of uh, anti trans people use detransitioning as a way to invalidate them. And, something typical would be said is like, oh, you're just going to detransition so at some point in the future. So, no, you're really a boy or you're really a girl or whatever the case may be. And jeez, it might not be as complex as it is in my mind, but like whenever it's talked about, it just feels like because detransitioning has been a weapon for anti-trans people, therefore trans people are threatened by uh, detransitioners themselves, and there's some trans people, like a good handful of trans people who support detransitioners, especially the ones that don't impose, like something threatening. You know what I mean? Like, so, they don't have an agenda, an anti-trans agenda. So yeah, so that's what got me. That's what got me thinking in this direction. So uh, and so when it comes to that threat of detransitioning, it's become, a taboo to talk about it. So therefore, we don't really or trans people don't really want to even address that detransitioners really exist, because they'll say something like, "Oh, well, you weren't ever really trans," you know, fake trans versus a real one. You weren't really a real trans person, and they'll just say something invalidating like that to the detransitioner, and and then and yeah, so because of this fear and like that kind of dismissiveness, there's also the what's the word? The upgraded version. I don't know, the extended version of that. Uh, when a detransitioner starts saying stuff, just saying stuff about detransitioning, uh, like in a conversation, like on a thread of some kind, on a forum, the trans people will most likely want to like ban that person, block that person, silence them in some way, like oh shut up turf or something like that. Go die, something vitriolic and mean, nasty like that, and like it's that kind of reaction has like embedded its teeth into like the detrans subreddit, um, and they banned that subreddit for a while because what they were seeing, uh, although I don't believe that anybody of those people who banned it or were reporting it, were really in the daily, uh, what's it called? You know, the daily digest of the subreddit. So they weren't really into it. They only just saw those people, those detransitioners who said something critical about the trans community. And so they're like, "Oh my God, they're just a bunch of turfs. We better destroy and obliterate them." And so that's what they did. And I don't know how long it was banned for, but it came back up eventually. It came back up, and it seems like, and I could very well be wrong, but it seems like the only real reason why I was able to come back up, well, was because they pretty much like promised to be like, we're gonna not say anything turfy, not say anything that goes against, or is critical of them. So basically, being complicit to the trans community and not question anything at all, which that in and of itself, which I might elaborate on later, I might do it right now, I don't know, which is obviously like that's a problem to me. And uh, I think it's ridiculous to be like, we have to, like, the only reason why you guys are allowed to speak and for anybody else to listen to you is if you accept the trans community. And I can understand that they don't want, really angry, upset, vicious people coming at them and being mean and randomly invalidating and, just generally poor manners. I can understand that part. But what I can't understand is being critical. Like, why why are we not allowed to be critical of something that happened to us? Uh, but I think I'll get to that in a moment. But I wanted to say first, with that bullying and banning and um, getting rid of that subreddit temporarily and just, uh, all that fun stuff. It's like detransitioners, um, it's made detransitioners scared to come out as detransitioners publicly. And because of that silence, that involuntary silence, it makes this narrative uh, because nobody's reporting on it, it makes this narrative that detransitioning is rare. And what comes with the rare label is that not only do like uh, trans people will see that it's rare, therefore it's less risky, and so they might inspire other people to or not detransition, but to transition, and having more confidence to transition themselves. And so the other issue with calling it rare is that it it makes it so that uh, like therapists, doctors, family members, friends, and stuff, they won't be they won't be told or encouraged to gatekeep uh, without detransitioners speaking out enough. Then it makes transition a lot more accessible, which I have a problem with, and I've spoken about that before. And so, like, rare makes it so that, like, transition is more highly in favor than talking about risks. I mean, we need more detransitioners to come out and say that they're detransitioners so that we can have more information on what's going on and what exactly is the root cause of these things. What are the risks of transitioning? What, mental health wise and physical health wise, what, and then, what makes people want to be this way. And there's nothing wrong with questioning these things, but a lot of the trans community makes it seem like there is no problems, and I have a problem with that. So with the therapists and the medical staff, and without being presented enough risks, like if they're not aware of a lot of detransitioners out there and the possibility of detransitioning, then they're gonna just be like, oh well, this person just has gender dysphoria, so let's just allow them to go and fully transition and stuff. And yeah, I said this before, I'm definitely extreme pro gatekeeping. People should be having very intense therapy sessions, going, trying to figure out their gender and stuff, because we need more prevention than we need accessibility and, being enabled, you know, life altering drugs and life altering surgeries, because it is risky being trans. It is very risky, and a lot of people just don't seem to want to look at that. So we need to stop calling it like rare in the sense that it's can be easily dismissed and we don't really need to think about it. What I was saying earlier regarding like the silencing the detrans subreddit and also just detransitioners in general, like there is I find that there's an issue with this. Like what I was saying, like detransitioners can only exist, be supported and heard so long as they remain critical of gender, not gender critical because it's different. Uh, Apparently, uh, critical of gender is critical of gender roles, and gender critical is critical of the trans community or trans ideology. And like I said, I find issue with that because we should be supporting uh, trans people who are gender critical. We should support these people because it's like no matter what kind of detransitioner you are, especially if you've been on hormone replacement therapy, you're going through your third puberty, and that's kind of traumatic. It's very intense, and if these people need to talk about it in a critical way, they should be allowed to talk in these critical ways. Because silencing these people once they begin to question what happened to them back then, kind of it, it it works against these people who try to silence these types of detransitioners. And when you silence somebody, when you ban somebody, when you bully somebody, uh, in this case a detransitioner like this, it confirms to them that the trans community is horrible, and it confirms that they were right, and that that they were right all along. And so therefore this intensifies their criticisms and supplies the whole weaponizing detransitioning. So that really goes against the trans community altogether. So, what we should be doing instead is having open discussions with these people, allowing them to express themselves. And if, you know, if it's like talking with a trans person with that type of detrans person, then that trans person can say something like a little bit or just it goes both ways, like maybe somebody on either end can learn something from the other, and that's what we need an open discussion to talk about these things. I think when it comes to censoring other people, bullying them, banning them, blah blah blah, the works, it it suggests that there's a skeleton in your closet, and it shows red hands. It shows guilt. It's suspicious. When when you react really, really negatively from somebody just being a certain way, or they say something certain, and if that really got to you and it made you so angry that you had to silence them, or maybe on the extreme end of that, if that stab them or kill them or dox them or something, like it shows it's a Freudian slip. It shows that you have that something deep with there's a truth in there that you're denying, and that's very important to address. And that's why uh, in this case the detransition opinion and stance, no, the detransition stance is important, because if it triggers you, then therefore that is something to explore, and that is very good. Like, if it triggers you, then it's like you've struck gold in a way, because then that's like, oh well, that's where my demons lie, so I need to dig through it and search. Why does this upset me exactly? Why is this threatening to me? And it has to be on a personal level, because we're all individuals here. We are not a group. We are not an established community. We are all individuals. And I feel like a lot of us forget about that sometimes, because a lot of us externalize a lot of our issues and we project onto other people, and we would prefer helping others rather than ourselves. And that just goes to show that uh, you care less about yourself, and there's a sense of self-hatred within you. So, and because you want to help somebody else, it's like, yeah, like that person does need help, but so do you, and you need to take care of you. Going off on the threatening bit, so when trans people talk about detransitioning, like the videos that I mentioned, uh, and I think that's what I said in the very beginning, they tiptoe around the issue and they're being cautious. The fact that they made a video talking about it has an air of bravery to it, and these people want to make it very explicitly clear that they aren't and never will transition, as if their as if their transition proves nobility to the cause, which feels like it's less about themselves and more about pleasing others. Now, let me unpack that a little bit. So there's a bravery to it, like, uh, I'm never gonna detransition, and I'm very committed to being trans. And it just kind of goes into like, why are we basing it off of commitment? Why are we basing being trans off of a commitment? What are we committing ourselves to? It's kind of weird because, cisgendered people don't commit to their gender. They just they just accept it. So I feel like that's kind of a little weird. There's a little hole in there. And then also, when it comes to jokes, when a trans person says, title is it, haha, I'm detransitioning, and then the video, they're like, haha, no, that was just clickbait, honey. That also shows a hole in their ideology. Although I've seen one trans woman detransition, or she made, or he made a video on detransitioning, and then he was like, "Ha, no, I'm just kidding." And then like a year later, he actually did transition. So it's just kind of like, kind of just, again, the Freudian slip thing. Uh, so when it comes to sometimes when you're joking about something, especially something as sensitive and taboo as detransitioning, when you joke about it, it 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 kind of reveals something because it's saying, I want to reduce this thing to nothing. I want to reduce its power over me into just something that I can stomach a little bit better. Because a lot of people will joke to cope with like trauma or something. And so, yeah, so that's like a little kind of weird. I don't think such a taboo topic should really be joked about, or at least not right now, and not in that way. Yeah, oh yeah, and then I've also seen the word detransition used as a way to insult, invalidate, and silence the opinions of others who don't blindly follow the ideology. I'm not going to name any names because what's the point of doing that? But I've seen some people being like, "Oh, you must be detransitioner, so like therefore we don't need to listen to you." Detransition shouldn't be an insult, and it shouldn't be used to invalidate anybody. So, yeah, and now I think that that's actually it. So, yeah, this was a bit disorganized. Uh, Next week, I hope to talk about gender dysphoria itself. And I also want to talk more about gender nonconforming, which I think is also going to go into that video. So, yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it for today. Yeah, so, yeah, I'll see you when I see you. Bye.